Okay, Beyond the Gates fans, this review is up, on time. Well, just like episode 25, because remember I did my episode 24 and 25 in the same day. But episode 26, look now, I wasn't going to give it a high score, but 10 out of 10, because when I actually watched it twice, yeah, it was good the first time I watched it, but then I went back to rewatch certain scenes for context, and then I got so swept up in the various scenes like Vernon and Anita, then the Bill and Danny stuff that I couldn't help but just watch the entire thing back. It is very perplexing looking at the likes of Haley and how she acts towards Bill. Because real quick, and I'll talk about this more once I delve into the review more, but it's just the audacity that Haley is trying to chew out Bill for you went behind my back after I told you not to, in regards to talking to Danny about kind of, hey, can you let the people at the basically can you tell the people in the community to ease up on Haley and play nice and treat her like a person and this, that, and the third, after she said, don't do anything, Bill, I can handle it. Yet I think it's been darn near half a dozen times when Haley has gone behind Bill's back to try to, quote unquote, make peace with, I don't know, Danny or, well, specifically Naomi and Chelsea and whatnot. She does these things where, and I love how people on Twitter, just chew her out every single day, where it's like, Haley is a piece of work. Like, if you don't want to get told off by people, specifically the Depris, why do you constantly go and talk to them one-on-one trying to, broker a peace deal or something when it's like, you are the problem? Yes, Bill is a grown-ass man. Bill made his decisions, but you were like I keep saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. So you can't just expect people to just play nice with you when you're the one who was a major, I'm not going to say the reason, but a major reason why things turned out the way they did with the family. And like I said, in another video, I forget which one, this episode 26, I've talked about this show a lot, and I've done close to 60 videos on Beyond the Gate, so I'm pretty sure I said it before. But basically, there were a lot of issues between Bill and the Depris and Bill and Danny before Haley even came into the picture. But the fact that she was like the thing that truly was the, okay, we're getting a divorce and everything is going crazy, you can't expect people to just like you. It doesn't work that way. So I just found it very weird that she would get mad at Bill when she's done the same thing multiple times. However, I think what's really eating away at Haley is that before Bill came into his office, what did we see? Haley taking a moment and reminiscing on the two times Danny gave her words of caution about who Bill really is. All right. Well, I actually went more in depth at the beginning of the video than I thought I would. But hey, you know what? If I got your attention, because I do look at the average duration of my Beyond the Gates content, and typically they get somewhere between 3 to 9 minutes. But of course, a lot of people watch the entire thing. Please make sure you take a moment and hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. And yeah, let's dive in. So Bill pulls away from Danny kissing him. I don't know how. I mean, it's the dimples for me. I'm just playing. No, it is. I know I did that video about I am done with celebrity crushes. Technically, that was specifically about Tyler Perry actresses, but I will at least mention Beyond the Gate stuff. Now, I won't go like, oh, I'm in love like I was with Jasmine. Nope. But I will mention little tidbits here and there. Well, yeah, so Bill pulls away. And I love how Danny's like, hey, we got carried away. You're the one who kissed me. And like, I was just here for business. Oh, yeah, what about the charm and pouring the wine and everything? And for once, I kind of got to side with Bill here, where it's like, Danny, that was you. I mean, let's be real, though. Bill was kissing her back, because if you look at the very ending of the last episode, Danny did initiate the kiss, but then he wrapped his arms around her. He didn't immediately shove her back, so he was into it. So you could just tell. I don't know what, honestly, you think about, and I love the actor who plays Bill. The fact that he's so despicable, but there are certain moments where, look, we get it. He's a manipulator. he's a person who plays the game for his own benefit and whatnot. So when he's flustered, it's noticeable because he's rarely, bothered by anything. But when you think about it, when he tries to convince Danny that he and Haley are happy and he's moved on, versus later on when he's trying to convince Haley that nothing happened between him and Danny, who is he trying to fool? Like, I wasn't convinced by either performance. And that's the thing, though, because I honestly feel like he still is into Danny. I mean, yeah, he's cheated on her multiple times, and yeah, they've been married for decades, and it was like 6 months of separation between the divorce getting finalized and then him getting engaged and whatnot, and then getting married to Haley. It just felt like in some ways, I agree with Danny that it was just like a shotgun wedding where he just did it to, do it, as opposed to actually wanting to get married. I'm not denying that he, quote unquote, loves Haley, but then again, as someone who's never been in a long-term relationship, I can't really speak on this, but I do feel like if you have been that attached to someone for that long, it's hard to get there. Like, what's that, analogy people use, like gum on the bottom of your shoe. No matter how many times you try to, hit your foot against the pavement or, just scrub it off, there's always some residual gum left. So it's hard to, just be done with it. So I feel like in some ways, Danny probably sees Haley as a fling or an affair that Bill, is trying to hold on to. And who is he really trying to fool? But at the end of the day, Danny and Haley are both delusional. So in a lot of ways, I kind of don't feel bad for Danny here because she kind of set herself up for heartbreak in this scene. But the performance from Carla was just incredible because she was up there just going in on Bill. And you could tell the dude, even though he was trying to play it off like, Danny, you're doing too much. Like, I am over you. I'm in your blood. I think she got a point because let's be real here. Bill, he was flustered. I mean, I'm not saying that, he didn't like the kiss, but you could tell that, I don't know. Danny was doing too much, but I can't sit up here and act like Bill doesn't have anything for, Danny, because I keep thinking back to episode 4 when she basically went crawling back to him to try to get him to come back to her, but it didn't work. It just seems like it's all well and good between them when, Danny can like hit him, pull a gun out on him. The crazy part, and this is just my thoughts here, I think Bill was more discombobulated from that kiss than when she pulled out a gun on him. That's crazy when you think about it. Like I said, I watched the episode twice. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I that's my thoughts on it. Because eventually Haley stops by the law firm to surprise Bill with some late night dinner. Again, that diner. I know this is a fictional diner, but I really wish I could try a meal from there because, I mean, when you got the people from behind the gates coming out of the gates in order to try it, I got to make a quick tangent real quick. There was a honor society that I was president of in college for like, what was it, a year? Was it a semester or a year? I forgot. But either way, I was president. And I got to go to some leadership conference in D.C., my first and only time in Washington, D.C. I actually saw the White House from behind the gates. See, yeah, I'm sorry. That was a correlation with the show. I just thought about it. But yeah, I was on the other side of the gates. I couldn't go to the White House, but I could look at it. And I'm like, wow, that's the White House. But in any case, we stayed at this fancy hotel. I felt like Kevin in Home Alone 2, because I'd never been to a hotel like that. And that night, there was like, a fancy dinner and everything. And if you didn't know, I'm black. So, and plus I come from like the, country and whatnot, which is where I live at now, of course, in my house. But I'm not one for fancy dining and whatnot. Those like Food Channel network shows where it's like those cooking shows where it's like restaurants put together meals that are like $75, but it's like 3 pieces of lettuce, a chunk of meat no bigger than a McNugget, and then they take like sauce and like drizzle it on the plate, and all of a sudden that's like a meal. I don't get down like that. So one of the waitresses, she was black. She came out and like, put the food on the table, and she noticed the look on my face when it was like a piece of dry, skinless, baked chicken. She looked at me, I looked at her, and she's like, yeah, don't worry about it, baby. I got something else for you. So she took the plate. And then she brought me something else, something that she felt I would actually like. I think it was, bless her heart, because she knew, like, I don't eat like this. Like, I don't eat this bougie stuff. I forgot what it was, but she gave me a replacement food, and I will always treasure that moment, because it felt like one black person to another is like, yeah, I know you don't get down like this, because, you know, the white people and everything, they eat that stuff. I ain't down like that. So give me like, you know, a greasy burger or some sort of like shrimp dinner from a, you know, hole in the wall diner any day compared to some 5-star restaurant cuisine. So when I think about like Anita and Vernon and like, you know, the other uppity people behind the gates who came from, you know, backgrounds of hardship, that diner was like a place of comfort. So I just love the fact that the people from behind the gates will leave the gates just to come back to that diner. So I feel like that diner is a melting pot of people from all walks of life. So yeah, I just really love that diner. But in any case, yeah, Haley comes by with some dinner, and oh yeah, this is good continuity, because obviously she was at the diner in the last episode talking to Chelsea, and then Chelsea left, so then Haley picked up the food to go see Bill. Okay, yeah, there we go. So Caroline says, oh, Bill actually stepped out. So she's bound by confidentiality, but Haley keeps pressing her until she reveals that, yeah, Bill's over at Danny's to handle some business, and Haley is like in her feelings about it. So, you know, when it comes down to like Danny's delusion and whatnot, she actually did have the deed that Bill came over to get in the back of the photo album, because she ain't done. She makes it clear, like, you know, that's what you think, Bill. And then Bill leaves because she is just pissed off. And of course, you have another moment where we have Danny looking at the alcohol, and she ends up calling Andre. And I'll get to Andre in just a moment. So Haley gets to the office with Bill. And, well, actually, Bill comes in. And it's like, oh, hey, I didn't know you were supposed to come. How are you doing? And, oh, you got dinner from the diner? Great. So Haley is in her feelings even worse than when that woman was there that Bill was seeing after hours. The one that he was low-key representing, not representing in a divorce settlement for custody of the kids against her, you know, soon-to-be ex-husband. But Haley, before Bill even comes in the office, she's thinking about the 2 times that Danny low-key warned her about Bill and who he really is. Like, yeah, you're about to marry him, but you'll see. The past is prologue, Haley. The past is prologue. Basically, Prince Charming, once he puts the ring on your finger and you say, I do, you'll see what kind of asshole he really is. So Haley confronts Bill about Danny. And he tries to say, oh, yeah, I went over there for, you know, a couple reasons. Like, for one, to convince Danny to help, you know, make the people in the community more accommodating to you, as opposed to, you know, picking sides and whatnot. And that's kind of funny, because in episode 25, towards the end, Danny mentions, what do you mean Team Danny? And it's like, yeah, she's not going out of her way to tell these people to be an asshole or ignore Haley. It's just like Haley screwed over one of their own, so the people know better than to pick her over Danny. So there's really no way of getting around it. And then also the fact that when Bill tells Danny about the lawsuit, the fact that Danny couldn't help but laugh at it. So I think that's pretty cool. But in any case, I do feel like Haley is getting a taste of her own medicine. The fact, what's that saying? You lose them how you get them. And she, no matter what Bill says, no matter how much he tries to convince her that, yeah, I was there for business to get a deed to sell a place we have in, where did he say, Maine or something? Was it Maine or Maryland? And yeah, I'll use my half of the proceeds from selling the place, and we'll go on that vacation, a surprise vacation. Kind of like a honeymoon part 2, since the first one got interrupted because of a huge case Bill was working on at the time. And Haley, you know, just, it's like, look, there's something else you aren't telling me, Bill. And then that's when Bill says, like, there were a lot of tears. So he doesn't mention the kiss, which is exactly what Danny called him out for. I bet you won't be able to tell your wife about that kiss. So they ended up going home, and it's like, yeah, Haley, it's only a matter of time before Bill cheats. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Now, in regards to Jacob, it's interesting because both he and Naomi have a moment where they question the morality of their careers. Like, is Naomi really going after her dad for justice, or because he, hurt her mom? And is Jacob like tripping over his partner, or is there something else going on? So they end up, well, I think, yeah. Jacob was going back to work, and he ends up seeing, oh man, he ends up seeing the good old detective, his partner, and Joey, and Joey's paying him off, or Marcel is taking some money because the detective, after leaving the bar in the last episode, runs into Joey, and he pretty much reveals that the cops are paying, he's paying off the cops. And later on, when he gets to the police station, he talks to his dad about the money situation, and then Elon tells a lie talking about how Joey's a CI, basically working with the police and whatnot, like he's under the guise of being some mob gangster and whatnot, but in reality he's there to help take down the underworld. Bull crap. And Jacob's like, oh wow. But then later on, Jacob sees his dad talking with Marcel, and Elon is telling him like, look, you moron, my son, if you want to take money from Joey, make sure you're discreet about it. This is the second time my son's come at me with allegations towards you. Like first letting Joey get off from, that money he received some hoodlum in the street. And now you are out in the open taking money from Joey. So he doesn't want his son to be, find out. Look, the whole system is corrupt. And at some point, they got to tell Jacob something, because he's going to get himself into a situation that's going to, either get him in big trouble or, his partner, because Elon even says, like, if you want to make it to retirement, to like go to, Italy or whatever with your boat or whatever you want to do when you retire, don't be stupid. So now Jacob is in a situation where it's like, oh man, this is going to be crazy. Because after Jacob had left, here we get to the scene that most people were talking about. Vernon and Anita are at the house, and they're about to go out for some drinks, because apparently Vernon had spoke at some seminar. And I love how Anita, who looks amazing by the way, is proud of her husband because he's such an inspiration. And I think there are a bunch of letters between him and I believe different political leaders that they'll put in a museum, which I think is really cool, because it just goes to show that as Anita said, there's no mark against you, because apparently Vernon has quite the squeaky clean record, which I think is pretty cool, because even though Bill has apparently done a bunch of favors legally for the Depris, there's a lot of blackmail he can use against him, aka the whole thing with Martin. Because keep in mind, Vernon and Anita's main thing is not allowing Martin's secret to get out to the public, because apparently it would just ruin their his life and the life of his husband and their children, but possibly put a huge stain on the Depri name, probably because they had Bill cover it up. So that's really like, apparently Vernon and Anita might have squeaky clean records, but because they had a hand in having this covered up for so long, that could cause a disgrace on them. But look, their daughter was flinging a gun around at a wedding, so I feel like if they can make it back from that, this Martin thing must be huge if they are afraid of it coming out. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Like, Danny has achieved new fame from this incident. Chelsea's social media numbers are through the roof because of her mom. So all I'm saying is this Martin thing must be incredibly... Well, then again, Martin is in the politics game, so that's probably why it's a big deal. So they actually meet up with Naomi at Uptown, and there's a great moment where Naomi is remembering a time where her and her dad are at Uptown, and they're having over dinner debate over some policies and whatnot. I believe this is when Naomi is either right on the cusp of graduating or about to handle a case, and her dad gives her encouragement like, look, hey, you trained with the best by me and you did a great job in law school. This is your calling and I'm so proud of you. And that's when they show up and they have a seat with their granddaughter, and they learn about the case and low-key tell Naomi to go easy on Bill, because basically don't poke the bear, don't shake the hornet's nest because messing with Bill could be quite dangerous. Like, so low key, they're like, yeah, don't go so hard on your dad. And then later on, that's when Naomi is telling Jacob about it because it's like, hell no, I ain't doing that. And I'm like, good, good, because I feel like having the entire Depri family accommodate Bill and walk around on eggshells because of a Martin secret is some bull crap. Heck no. So I'm glad Naomi is not pulling her punches, as we will see in episode 27. Yeah, I actually recorded my episode 27 review before this one, by the way. But later on, when Anita and Vernon get home, they basically just reiterate the fact that they cannot allow Bill to pull the trigger on that huge blackmail. Now, aside from that, I believe the only thing I have to cover is Andre. Yeah. So Ashley's freaking out because, like, look, we only got leftovers. This place is a mess. And Derek's like, no, it's cool because, I just want to see if me and Andre have anything in common other than, just you. And Andre comes over. He brings some wine and flowers. And he and Derek have a brief moment to bond. It's like, hey, you're into wines? Yeah, I got my favorites. And then the way that Ashley turned around and looked him up and down, I'm like, That look was very telling, if you ask me. I wanted him to say white wine. I don't know why. I just felt like that would have been appropriate. Jungle fever. So, from there, they have dinner, and then they talk about, like sports teams and the fact that, first responders have different, like, leagues of their own, like basketball and stuff like that, like, nurses and cops and firemen and whatnot. So everything is cool. Everything is cool. But Andre actually brings up the documentary he's doing where it's like, well, considering you two are a great couple, you're both first responders, the fact that you put your life on the line for a cat, and it turns out your girl here helped nurse you to health, so why don't you be part of the documentary? And like Andre doesn't want to have anything to do with it because he's already catching enough hell at the fire station over the whole cat article. But he's like, hey, I'm not trying to push you. I'll let you have time to think about it. But Ashley is encouraging this, but then his phone goes off and then it's Danny. So you can definitely tell that rather than taking to the bottle, Andre is her addiction to get her mind off her stress of all things Bill related. So the funny thing is, when Andre gets up, hey, baby, Ashley, like, looks at Derek. I think she mouthed the words like baby, and Derek shrugs. And then it's like, yeah, anything. I'll be on the way. And it's like, so I gotta go. Thanks for having me. And then as soon as Derek closes the door, Ashley's like, did he just leave us for a booty call? Yes. Man, on Twitter, it was hilarious because somebody was like, see, Ashley? Yeah, you thought Andre was avoiding you and crying about not being able to kiss you, but he gets bitches. I'm quoting the tweet, by the way, because I actually retweeted it. Yeah, follow me on social media. Links are in the description. But they have the first moment of product placement as someone who has, had that moment where it's like, oh my gosh, soap operas are called that because of sponsors from like soaps and stuff. When Ashley's talking to Derek about how she hopes that Andre finds someone because, when he does, well, he can do fun things like this. And then she holds up a bottle of Tide. And I'm like, ha! Product placement. I thought that was cool. And I love how everybody online was like, geeking out over it too. So it wasn't just me. Side note, I cannot use Tide or All because my skin has an allergic reaction to it. So I got to use Purex. Just a fun fact about me. But in terms of Ashley, she's like, wait, I wonder if that woman on the phone is the reason he's staying in town. And Derek's like, no. Wait, what do you mean? A guy knows. So I think even though him and Andre seem to have hit it off after this dinner, he probably, is still kind of iffy on the dynamic between he and Ashley. That's all I'm saying. But in any case, he calls out Ashley for always wanting to play couple matchmaker because she's like, yeah, we find somebody for Andre, then we can like double and triple date with Naomi and Jacob. So, man. But here's the line that Ashley says that I'm like, I feel like we need to pay attention to it. When she tells Derek, it's like, well, it's good because, what did she say? Something to the effect of, I just want Andre to know what this feels like. And then she wraps her arms around Derek and kisses him. And I'm like, do you mean knows what it feels like to have what you and Derek have? Or knows what it feels like to be in Derek's position where she's wrapping her arms around him and they kiss? Okay, so Andre just pops up over. And before they get a little freaky deaky, it's kind of wild when you think about it, because here Danny is wearing the outfit that she thought she could seduce Bill in, and here she is about to make, whoopee with Andre. So, but at least it's an understanding that they're both kind of using each other as placeholders. So before anything happens, Danny said, like, look, maybe I should you should distance yourself from me, because I don't want you to feel obligated to spend time with me because you were with friends and whatnot. But it's like, it's only a matter of time before you're halfway across the world. Well, this documentary is going to take a few months, so I'll be around. And let's just put it this way. You say we're not built to last, but just know I'll be here when you call. Then they go upstairs. And holy crap, the chemistry and the tension and everything about this scene was something else. From the demons that needs to be exorcised and this scene was something else. That's all I'm saying. So, as Pops would say, bang, 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 bang. And then Danny's like, I was actually surprised, because when I look at how the first time Andre stayed to make, have sex with Danny, she was like, okay, never again, get out of here. But she's like, maybe I need a couple more doses throughout the night and in the morning. So I'm like, oh, snap. Because she makes it clear, she thought her and Bill had a moment, but I need to get my mind off him. So basically, do what you do, Andre. And so what am I distracting you from? Who? It's like, oh, nothing, just stuff going on. So he doesn't mention the whole Ashley thing. Smart play. And Danny talks about how I'd still take him back and I'd forgive him. And then, of course, Andre isn't really buying it. So they pretty much distract each other by, it's the dimples. Danny's dimples are amazing. So, yeah. Oh, side note, I did like when Ashley was talking to Derek, not pushing him to do the documentary, but when he talks about how, people celebrate when we are called heroes and stuff like that, but in our line of work, both of us, people don't like to think about or talk about the other nature where it's like losing patience or not being able to save people from a fire. And then Ashley's like, and that's why you need to be part of this documentary. And that is something that's very important, because I just have the most respect for people. And I know, when it comes to police and law enforcement, there's a whole lot of scrutiny and, the Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of tension, but regardless, I respect, people who wear a badge, who work in hospitals, who put their lives on the line, firefighter. Basically, any sort of job where a person puts their life on the line for other people, mad respect, because there's a lot of things that don't get talked about, home invasion, and let's say a cop isn't able to save a couple of people, or a firefighter is able to save some of the people, not all of the people, or a nurse or a doctor, where it's you get attached to the patients, but then they have a terminal illness or surgery goes wrong, or it's a lot to carry. And I just, like I said, mad respect for everybody in that sort of profession, because man, it is crazy. It really is, because you save a lot of lives, but then you also lose a lot of lives as well, because, hey, don't have superpowers out here, but mad respect. But overall, solid episode, 10 out of 10 banger. Sorry this review's a little late, but as always, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.